Hello and welcome back to Logical Magic Examining Esoterica. Hey guys, there's no video with today's episode. Quite frankly, it's one I'm putting out right before a holiday, and so I am going to sit around in my pajamas while I do this, and you don't need to see that. So today's topic is what are the best magic practices for spring? What the spring represents, how we can lean into the energy of the spring and get the best results that we can possible, and the value of the idea of a true rebirth in our life, because we're coming into the Easter holiday here, but if you don't celebrate that, that's okay. It represents a universal energy that is available to us, just as the spring equinox just passed, and it is the time for a new and a growing season. It is a time to prosper. We're going to talk about the types of magic and the deities that you can call to, and some of the things that you can offer them to kind of get your growth pattern, your manifestations on the way. This will work for you if you're practicing the law of attraction or any other form of craft. I practice a form of magic called celestial and angelic magic, but it is not the celestial and angelic magic associated with what is now called chaos magic that was formed in the 1970s. The form of celestial and angelic magic that I practice is related to and best described in theosophy. And that is an older belief system developed in, really the 1800s that encompasses figures from the Hindu religion, from Buddhism, and from Christianity. And so that is part of the celestial and angelic magic that I practice. I just went through a 4-year period that is called a hermetic phase in order to be able to term myself a high priestess in celestial and angelic magic. And it's a difficult 4 years to go through because it asks you to give up almost everything that had value to you. Your different forms of comfort, your different relationships, your place sometimes in the world so that you can assume the place that you're supposed to inhabit. And why did I do that? Because I wanted to dedicate my life to trying to make a difference in this world in the ways that I could. And that is a soul contract that I made before I ever got here. It was a promise that I said I would keep. And I am keeping it as the world needs more and more people going towards their purpose in this world so that we can try and make things better, because I think we can all agree, no matter what camp or field we're standing in, who we think of as our leaders, I think we can all agree that things aren't getting better. A lot of the times they're getting worse, and that we need things to get better. And it's very difficult for things to get better if we go backwards. We have to go forwards into the idea of new growth, which is what the spring is about. So let's start talking about the idea of what magic you can perform. And can you perform it throughout the season? Yes, you will get the most potent results in the first moon cycle of the spring era for growth, for manifestation. That's what we're dead center in now. If you're listening to this now, then it will help you tremendously. If you catch it before summer, then it will also still do the work, but know that you will have more momentum, and so you can accomplish something of a vaster scale within the beginning of the season. So the best things to work for are anything type of prosperity. And you will get the best results in this particular season if you tie yourself to the idea that we are all one. So that what you're trying to manifest just doesn't have a personal focus, but you have an idea of what you want it to do in the world around you. So if you've been, for instance, trying to manifest a home or a new car or a new job, then you would want to have an idea of what you're trying to accomplish for those who are like you, for those that you feel attached to, not the blood of the family, but the energetic family, because that ties you to the energy of what is known as your tribe. And if the best law of magic is try not to harm anybody, essentially, it's the magic of healers. And the Hippocratic Oath, which talks about, doing no harm, is actually one of the healer's oaths that was adapted for the more modern practices of medicine. But for healing magic, which is purposeful magic, and since things heal as they prosper and grow, it is the energy to lean into to get the best results. So some really practical things is on the new moon, you can do things like burn bay leaves. You can write down an intention on them. It's best to use green ink, green being one of the energies for growth. You can write down simple one-word things on a bay leaf. You can money, security. You can write love if you want. Whenever doing love magic, it is so much better to leave it open-ended. Bring me my soulmate, bring me my true partner, bring me somebody to give me romantic love, bring me someone who will treat me as I treat myself, as a person worthy of all good things in love, without naming the specific individual, because attachment to outcomes in magic delay your results and sometimes limit your results, and sometimes the things we are asking for are not possible because a version of ourselves that we are not yet, meaning the one we are growing into, will no longer want what we think it is that we want at that particular time. Because one of the things about self-love is to understand that, those who really belong in our lives don't need to be forced to be by our side. They're fighting for that chance. They're fighting to stay there. They're the person who wants to be with you through thick and thin. And it's seldom that you have to persuade somebody with magic to be that person. They just inhabit that energy. And that's not to shame anybody for love magic. If you're doing it, rock on. We've all done it, man. Like, for real. It's just part of a magical journey. As you gain a greater perspective on the idea of what energetic influence is in magic, it's not about judgment of like right or wrong. It's not likely to get you the results that you're hoping for in the long run. And it's just kind of that simple. But that is what you might do. You might burn bay leaves on the new moon. On the new moon and on the full moon throughout any season, you're going to want to do some form of ritual. The new moons help us manifest, so this birth of new things. If you're trying to, for instance, succeed at work, get a manuscript picked up, to finish a project, then you would be able to, at that particular point, do magic, which can include green candles and gold candles are the best ones to use in candle magic. There is a book by, I think it is Ray Buckland, that is a very old one that has a very good template for how to dress a candle and how to set up an altar if you have no base knowledge and you're trying to freestyle it a little bit, which is exactly what celestial and angelic magic practitioners really do. They inhabit the energy that comes to them because they are open to all. And it's one of the things that led me towards a folk magic expression of magic. And then I've told that story before about reading a book as in my very traumatic childhood that contained a sentence that was, it is better to light a single candle than to sit and curse the dark. And that is part of the reason that when I began to do magic, I used candle magic. And sometimes it's a hoodoo magic adaptation. And sometimes it's a folk magic adaptation, and like the two intersect a great deal. In magic, you may have actually had lifetimes where you do not resemble who you are now. It is part of the reason that I can do magic with Hindu figures and have it work out really well for me, because one of the things I know is that in past life, I have been Southeast Asian, I have been Indian, and on multiple occasions. I've been a bunch of other things as well, but I have an affinity for a magical practice. And then it is one of the faith-based religions in this world that allows for magic, and so that is part of the reason that I'm drawn towards it as well. In the spring, that is what you're concentrating on. You're concentrating on, look for the goddesses of abundance, and seriously put that into your Google search, goddess of abundance in different belief systems. And look first towards your genealogy to see which is most likely to be in your vibe. And if you do not really feel drawn to the story of the goddess from one of the Celtic belief systems, or perhaps the Swedish, they all are going to have something that is a goddess of abundance. And that's who you want to work with in the spring. You want to work with the energy of rebirth. Now, what if you're like me and you're in celestial and angelic magic and you approach this through the idea of the Christian figureheads? Does that mean that it's, the Virgin Mary? No, it does not need to be the Virgin Mary. It does not need to be any of the female figures within that religion. What you're reaching for is the energy of the Archangel Raphael, who is the guardian of spring. And that is who is the guardian of spring in the celestial and angelic magic. So you would call to the Archangel Raphael and ask that your message be carried to the goddess most likely to help you. And these are things that you can do. You can use a go-between in your belief system to attract what is best for you. But please, as I'm always saying with magic, clean your house first, because it gets rid of all dark energies. It's also an intent thing. where you're trying to start something new. It's not about shaming and like, hey, if your house is wrecked, nothing's going to manifest. And it's not like that. It is that you're trying to make room for fresh energy. And so you stir up the energy in your own home and make it better. And it's just that simple. So that's what you would do. You would do an intention candle on the full moon and on the new moon as a general practice. And then what you can also do if you're a little bit, and you call to the figurehead that is best described to you and you ask for their assistance, it is best to put together an offering. Whenever I say this, people have such difficulty with the idea of putting out food, and I do not blame you. People don't have enough to eat in this world. It feels a little bit obscene sometimes. When you're really in the practice, you don't view it as wasting food. You really do think that you are giving this as a gift to the power that you're conjuring. And so it doesn't feel like wasting. It's like asking a guest in. But if that is a stumbling block for you, then use flowers. Use something that you have created in the form of art or a sigil. You can use one of your personal items that you would like to share, and then you leave it there for the 2-week moon cycle that will follow after that, and then you remove it and you put it in sea salt, or sprinkle it with sea salt, or put it in a bowl with sea salt to deactivate it, and then you can use it again for your personal use. It's like you're loaning them something that is treasured to you, so it does not have to be food. It just has to be an offering from the heart. New moon, manifesting, full moon, releasing. What might you want to be releasing? If you have bad temper and you've been working on that, which I've spoken so much about the fact that like people must think I'm a rage ball or something. That has not been an issue in years. I learned how to work with it. But if you are working on your temper, I always have to be aware of it. It's always going to be a vulnerability that I have. I have too much fire. It is part of how I am such a good magician. I have too much fire. But if you're trying to release something having to do with frustration, being easily irritated or annoyed, that's something that you would write on a piece of paper, and you would call to that same goddess and ask for the release of that to make room for the magic that you did on the new moon. So you would reference that new moon so that you're creating this cycle of energy that will keep carrying you forward. And so what happens in the summer is then it is in full bloom, is how that is supposed to work. Remember, if you're trying to change a really big thing in the world, it can take literal years. If you're, for all of the people who want to be an important figure in something, remember that is a great, vast world out there. And in order to make that energy malleable, you might be in for a little while, and your perseverance will be tested on that, because they have to make sure that you have enough energy to carry these burdens. Because there is a burden with that. There is a burden with that. So there'll be a lot of tests with it. And can you fail? No, it'll just mean you're not ready yet. But if you want to make a big change in the world, be prepared that, it comes at a cost. So there will be some draining. And then also there will be some struggles as you break through the barriers and rearrange the energy around you. And particularly if you're trying to live in a purposeful energy, to have a life's purpose, to affect change, to help people, expect it to be a little bit of an onslaught for a while as they test you in a variety of ways in like, can you be tempted by the idea of fame or power or riches, or are you really on target for the thing that you're trying to do if you're trying to be a healer? If it's not about ego, if it's about really bringing the healing energy to people, expect to be tested. And it's not that, and some people get through it more quickly. Like some people are less conflicted, quite frankly. But if you're conflicted, it's usually just a result of damage. So don't judge yourself. Just know that the process carries you to where you need to go. So that's some magic that you can do on the moon cycles to help you with it. But we're not quite done with this entire concept, because every single day of the week has a tarot card and a planet and everything else associated with it where the energy is in the best alignment. So for instance, on Saturdays, that's one of the best days for justice-based magic, because Saturn rules Saturday. And it's also associated with the tarot card for the world, which is complete cycles. So bringing an ending to things within, the things that don't serve you, the blockages that are keeping you back, releasing your generational curses. Key for Saturdays. It works really well. So the Sunday card is the sun, and that is literally the sun. It rules that. The sun is great for healing. So healing magic of any time, which includes releasing trauma, which includes learning how to work with the results of trauma or any forms of illness that may or may not be permanent. That's the day to do the magic that you want to bring about the healings that you need. And then, of course, on Monday, we have the High Priestess, and that's ruled by the moon. And that's going to be like, that's for your foresight, for your insight, for your psychic abilities. It is for your ability to get your guidance as well. Don't forget that one. The moon is not just about intuition. It is about connecting with your guides, because it is the most direct energy that you have. They will be able to guide you the best in magic that you do on that. So if you're trying to do magic for your third eye, you want to hit Monday with that. Tuesday is the Tower, which is ruled by Mars, which is one of the gods of war. But it is also, the Tower is not a bad card. It is about divine intervention at its absolute best. The premise behind the Tower is that anything built on a faulty foundation must fall. And so it is the day where if you want radical change, you do that magic and you ask for that. And it is the day that you would want to do some magic for miracles. And what if it's a healing miracle? Well, then you would still try and do it on Sunday, and you can follow up on Tuesday. And do you do different offering every day? You can if you want to, but you don't have to. Do not overtax yourself, never exhaust yourself trying to do productive magic. They will hold it back. And who are they? They are your guides and your ancestors, the people who protect you, the energies that protect you. And can that include angels? Yes, but angels are not quite what we think they are. They are the purest form of an energy. And so they protect your intent as much as anything. They try to protect your soul, your integrity, your ability to control your own mind. And they work really well with that, by the way. Whenever you need protection in this realm, if you've done a bunch of moon magic on Monday and on Tuesday, you're like, hey, something's creeping me out about what I connected to. On Tuesday, you call for the protection of the divine. As a, for instance, you can call for divine intervention. You can call for divine justice. You can call for divine revelation, which is show me my path. Tuesdays in the Tower can be great work for that. And what type of candle would you light for that? Light blue works best because it is one of the colors for the divine, so is violet. You can light simply a white candle as well. And I'm going to refer you back to Ray Buckland's Candle Magic book if you're looking for how do I carve and dress a candle. There are even basic spells in there, and they work, by the way, but please make sure you clear and, ground and align yourself. And like I'm always saying, treat it like surgery. You'll get better results. On Thursday, we're on Wednesday, which is the Magician. That's a little bit of a wild card. It genuinely is. You can do, if you missed any of the other days, because the Magician has sway over all the elements. The Magician understands the ability to manipulate energy. But please understand there's a little bit of a difference in the results that you will get on Wednesday. You can do any form of magic, but it will be usually ones that are a little bit clumsier because the Magician does not necessarily have the best relationship to the emotional world. In terms of, a lot of magic is about emotional manipulation when it's any type of emotionally influential magic. And healing magic is a form of emotionally influential magic. It just has pure intent behind it. And so that's why it works. And the Magician is also in charge of that. So it is one of the days that is, for instance, if you were interested in doing magic to help somebody with an addiction or to help yourself with an addiction, Wednesday works super, super well. Thursday is the Wheel of Fortune. That is the day to do your luck magic. And what helps bring luck? Do clovers actually help? Yes, but so do things like alfalfa, basil. Cinnamon helps with speed. And so these are some of the things that you might dress a candle with. And start out with, if you want to get in touch with your real power, study the spells that are out there, but start adapting them to you immediately. Because that is one of the ways that you can tap into your power. It's a little bit like people who can cook and create their own recipes and people who have to follow another person's recipe. There's not a difference in quality, but there's a difference in direct connection to the creative source. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. You are trying to directly connect to creative source, and that is part of the reason that you want to adapt your spells, okay? And study what other people do, and is it chaos magic when you do that? A little bit, but release the idea that chaos is a bad thing. It is about blowing through structures and obstacles. It is not contained easily. It works best with pure intent, as close as we can achieve as human beings. Will you still get results with bad intent? More forces are likely to intervene to stop you because of other people's protective magic, so be aware of that. What are we looking at for Friday? We have the Empress and Venus. It's all about love on Fridays. Friday is the best day to do self-love magic. It is the best day to do self-esteem magic. It is the best day to do magic involving the Archangel Shemuel, who I have not referred to a great deal in this particular area, who works with your solar plexus, which is your personal power, which is your ability to manifest. If you are trying to increase your power to take it back from anybody who may have claimed it in the past, then that is the day that you would do that. And the spring, this is the perfect season for that. It's the perfect season for that. Spring is about achieving new things. Summer is watching our previous efforts flourish. The fall has a lot to do with security. It's a perfect time to do a lot of like financial security energy, life partner energy. It doesn't mean you can't do it at different points of the year. It's just that we're looking to piggyback off the universal energy to get a greater result, and it's just that simple. That's why the spring is much better for abundance. So that's all the magic stuff, but let's talk a little bit about the power of rebirth in your life and what it can do. And I referred to going through a hermetic phase in order to be considered a high priestess in what I do. And does that mean living, deprivation, a lot less money, giving up most creature comforts, and everything, like a lot of other things that you might associate with being a bit of a monk? Yes, it does. It's not for the meek. It's not for the meek. It does connect you with a greater source for guidance. It does connect you to your higher self a little bit easily, but it is not for people who don't have iron will, basically, because you will get tested from every direction, and you will always be asked to achieve a higher and a higher and a better stage of yourself. And so you do not need to go towards being a high priestess in anything, or a high priest. Magic will still be available to you. You can still have your creature comforts. You can still, have a Doritos addiction and still do magic. But if you want to be able to access the idea of healing magic at the highest level, it helps to hone it down. And does everybody have to give up the same stuff? Unfortunately. And that is why it is one of the things that is best pursued at a later stage of life, when you've, sown the wild oats that you might wish to sow. Rebirth in a life is, please remember, everything in your life can change. Absolutely everything for the better. But you will be asked to let go of what you have now. And it may take weird forms in the way it is taken from you. And you kind of have to be able to trust that it is the thing that is bringing into this world what you have been asking for. We rarely get to keep everything and expand more, because the energy has to come from something. And then a lot of the things that we have invested in hold us back because we're trying to hold on to that structure. And for a lot of people, and for me in the past, it was about relationships and clinging to a relationship because of that traumatic childhood. Being in a long-term relationship and having the idea of a family was too important to me, because I had not had it as a child. And I didn't have it as an adult either. It was not a healthy structure. I can see that very, very clearly from the outside. But I tried to hold on to it because it's what I thought I was trying to do in my life. Because that's what I thought I was trying to do. I would be kind to people here and there. I would help people here and there. But that, I thought my particular life, my ego-driven life, was going to be about having this relationship and this family. And then some things happened in the world. And I determined that I wanted to participate in trying to correct them. And even if it meant that everything in my life had to change, even if it meant that I was giving up all of the things that had meant so much to me, even if it meant all of that it was time for me to do that. And so in 2012, so it was a while ago, I meditated every single day for a year, asking for my life's purpose to be brought to me. But that was not when everything in the world changed so much that I basically made a very drastic and radical change to go towards the changes that needed to be made in my life. That would be many years later. It started in 2017 and ended in 2019 in terms of essentially changing my entire life to be able to inhabit this space, to be able to try and access the healing energy that I have available to me. And that's what rebirth can look like. It can look like your entire life being taken away from you and you're not sure whatever's going to come along to replace it, but that, I can tell you I'm a much healthier and happier person. It has not been a particularly easy journey because I was really not well because I had been in a very toxic relationship, but that healing was absolutely worth it for me. And that I believe trying to live in a purposeful energy is something that has given my life meaning in a way that nothing did when I had what I thought I wanted. When I had everything I thought I wanted, because I did. I did. I had everything that I had ever dreamed of. I'm a great manifester. I didn't have it at a very high quality because I'd never really seen it. And so it was an approximation of that, but I absolutely manifested the life that I wanted. And then it very slowly began to be shown to me why I shouldn't want it, why I should want my own power, why I should want my own path, why I could step outside of the need for a family, which I craved because I wanted something to try and help protect me because I had been so unprotected as a child. And after having achieved that, I discovered that I can protect myself. I do not need anybody to protect me. That like kind of woe betide the person who like decides that they're going to injure me intentionally. Not that I would act out in any sort of violent way, but that like I have the energy and I have the ability to strategize and to figure things out in order to do things in this world that are important to me. And that I didn't need that protection, that in fact I was the person who had been providing protection for a lot of people because I encompassed them in my family. And I needed to stop thinking of family in the same way and start applying it to the idea that we are all family to one another, every single one of us. That there are people make choices and they can go in directions I don't personally agree with. I am here to live a life's purpose that is about trying to unite and heal, and that I hope that a lot more people can find the value in that. And there may be sacrifice in your life, but the rewards are without measure. The rewards are without measure. Knowing that you are actually trying to make a sick world heal in whatever way you can gives you a sense of worth and a sense of purpose. And it's not that everything is ever withheld from you. It just gives you that feeling of connection. That love that so many of us are missing is available through that idea that you are participating in something that loves the world so much that the energy, the creation, the magic of the universe will flow through you to try and help everything heal. And that's what rebirth can bring about. But you don't have to have that grandiose an idea. Like if you're like, hey, that's not my path. I just would like a better place to live, a good relationship. That's cool. That's cool. Just don't harm other people. Be kind wherever you can. Be generous with your heart because it's easier to receive when we are more open to give. You don't have to walk that path. You don't. Or even to have your magic work. In fact, if you want to do that magic, do that magic. There's no judgment around any of this. Just be the best person you can be to those around you, and you will have access to this energy. You'll have access to more and more of it the more that your intent goes towards trying to reach out towards more and more and more, because you're tying yourself to the fate of more and more people when we do that. It is one of the reasons that it works well. It can be misused, as we have seen in politics, as we've seen in religion. It can be misused when people unite that energy. The world currently is defined by that misuse of trying to unite people for power and for gain and for greed and for all of the things that hold us back as a world. But if people unite in the idea of trying to make things better, of trying to heal with kindness, of compassion, of sharing what we can share, and sometimes it's just energy and kindness, because it is a difficult world with a lot of deprivation. When you start uniting people in that, there's power in that too. And it doesn't have to harm a thing to make a change. It doesn't have to harm a thing to make the difference. It doesn't have to harm a thing to shift momentum in a better direction. And that's what rebirth is. Don't cling to what you know too hard, because it usually is, there's something better on the other side of opening. And sometimes it's not material. We have been taught to value material things above all else, but there is no true way to describe how much better the world feels when you feel connected to a universal energy. And some may call it God, and some may call it goddess, and some may call it the universe, and some may call it the divine, and some may call it the spirit. And whatever it is that your terminology is, know that's valid for you. or for that person. They don't have to think like you do. They don't have to act towards that energy in the same ways that you do. We can embrace each other's differences even at the level of belief. But at the very core of this is a divine energy, which is the best that we can humanly achieve. The purest intent that is the purest form of energy, not diluted by the things that we attach our desires to, our wants, our needs. It's not wrong to have those things. It's not about that. It's about reaching for that energy. And when you have that energy available in your life, it recharges you. It doesn't necessarily fix every problem in your life. In fact, you might be asked to fight a great many battles and face a great many obstacles, even as you try to manifest, even as you try to work within a purpose. It is so your energy can increase. You'll keep going. Willpower is at the root of that word is will. Your will is what will help you manifest the best. So we've covered the types of magic to do. Let's talk a little bit more about like maybe a really simple spring spell. So what you want to do is somewhere in the first couple of weeks of April, if you can't get to it in the first couple of weeks of April and you're like, hey, Lady Adam doesn't do this in July, what you want to do is pick the new moon. On the new moon, if you have a backyard available to you or a back garden, you can take a green apple, a Granny Smith apple, and you want it to be green because it corresponds with that growth magic. You're going to coat it in coconut oil. Take out the core first, coat it in coconut oil, fill the interior with prosperity spices, which are going to be cloves and cinnamon. Ginger helps as well. Like basically, if it goes into a pumpkin pie, it is excellent for prosperity magic. So you're going to fill that with those spices and some oats. And then what you're going to do is coat the exterior of it in coconut oil. And then what you want to do is bury it by an egress point in your home. So it can be the front door or it can be the back door. It does not need to just be the front door, but you want to bury it in some soil by your front door. It usually is best to bury it as you're facing out of your house on your dominant hand side, which for most people is going to be on their right hand side as you're facing out. So you want it on your right hand side, that's your personal power side. But if you're left-handed, you put it on the left. Magic is more flexible than we think it is when it comes to it's you reaching for your personal power. And before you bury it, you just want to ask that same goddess energy that we were talking about, or the Archangel Raphael, or Gaia, the earth energy, as for instance, if you're more into some of the Wicca-based energies, you're going to ask that particular goddess to bless this with abundance, with prosperity, with regrowth, with bringing more into your life, but mostly for abundance. And then you bury it. And hey, what if you can't dig in the backyard? Get a pot of soil. Some potting soil will work perfectly well. You can also bury it in wood chips, although potting soil is a little bit better because it's a very grounding thing. And you bury it out there. And will you eventually throw it away? Maybe. It's very good for composting, as long as you don't add anything too toxic to it. Like you're not going to want to put a candle in it. When you activate it on an altar, when you ask for it to be activated, put that intention candle that, as I said, go to Ray Buckland's thing to learn how to, maybe I'll do a video in the not too distant future about how to dress and anoint a candle, but know that there are videos all over YouTube. So like you can get it done. You will be asked to look for your own answers a lot if you really want magic to work for you. It is that reaching for power that makes the great big difference. Okay, so that's going to be this episode for this week. Remember, all of the video ones of the interviews in the past are going to be up on my YouTube channel. Everything's always going to be linked in the episode notes or the description box down below. Next week's guest is Terry Tucker. And he has such an amazing story. He's gone from being a SWAT team negotiator to being a life coach. And it's a very interesting progression. And he is somebody who is battling long-term cancer. And it was actually very, very humbling to talk to him because even though he is trying to heal his entire body, he dedicates so much of his energy to helping people understand their own power within this life. And he's so encouraging and he is so motivational. And I hope you're able to join me to talk to him next week. And then this week, if you need anything from me, you can find me at therisingmoon.com, where you can book me for a tarot card reading, a life coaching session. You can find me at Logical Magic. Please don't forget to check out some of the guests I've had. Rachel Garrett and I had an awesome discussion on procrastination, which contains so many good things for emotional regulation. So please don't forget to check that one out. And then my YouTube channel is where I have pick a card readings. I have a Patreon as well. If you need daily guidance Monday through Friday, that's where you would find it. Okay, that was this week's episode that I shot in my pajamas just 2 days before I'm going to drop it, because I realized it was a holiday weekend. Easter's about rebirth. Remember, spring is about rebirth. Whenever you're lost about what magic that you want to do, look to the season and the element that is associated with that season to understand what element you might want to work with. Spring is water. I'm sorry, spring can, I beg your pardon, spring is fire for the birth of new things. But you want to work with the element of water in abundance magic, because Raphael is the guardian of water, but you do want to call upon the element of fire in spring. Summer is water, see, I messed up there. And then the fall is earth magic, and then the winter is air, because air carries more swiftly. So that's a lot good for like developing spirit mediumship, working on things in the ethereal world, in the ultra-dimensional world, which can be about like reprogramming how you think and how you talk to yourself, and dealing with emotions and having like a logical understanding of your own process. So the winter has great magic associated with it. But if you're outside of the seasons, you can still do the magic. Refer back to the days of the week that I talked about. That'll help you. That'll help you. And always remember to check the astrological movement of the new moon and the full moon, which will also tell you about, like, look to the astrological sign for if it's like the new moon in Pisces or the full moon in Pisces. Full moon in Libra just passed, and that was a great one for releasing unfair situations and for unburdening yourself of negative thoughts and of asking for justice. That's the culmination of a quest for justice, as for instance might be something that you could do around the full moon in Libra. Even when you're meditating, please take the steps to protect yourself wherever you can. When you open yourself up to guidance, remember there are things that want your focus, that want your energy and want your attention, that don't actually have your best interests in mind. They have like an agenda of their own, which can be sinister sometimes, but sometimes it's just a matter of like energetic survival. That's like, no, focus on this instead, because that makes you focus your energy in that area. So that's another reason to energetically cleanse, to make sure you use a smudge or a cleansing spray before sitting down to meditate. You can also clear with sound bowls. A root chakra bowl is one of the best. Whenever I'm doing any of these, I have a salt bowl behind me, which is water that I bless and activate, salt that I bless and activate, essential oils, and then I usually use cranberries because they're easiest for me to get. I just stock up when they're in season and have I have a freezer full of cranberries. Like, cops would be baffled if I were to be found dead. It's like, maybe she had a cranberry addiction. She died of a cranberry overdose. I go a little wild buying the cranberries because I use them so often, even when I'm reading. They help a great deal. Taking the steps will purify your energy. You can wand yourself with wand, W-A-N-D, which is to like move around you. A crystal, selenite works really well for clearing up your aura. Amethyst will help protect your psychic eye. Lapis lazuli, I can never figure out how to pronounce that. It's one of those things I've only ever seen in writing, is great for learning truths, for opening your psychic eye, for having clarity. It's one of the best crystals for writers, for instance. Whenever you have a question about what would it help you to do your research, reach out for it, and it doubles back to that. You need to reach for your stuff because you're reaching for your power, okay? Hey, that was Logical Magic examining esoterica this week with a message for spring about what spring represents and the best magic to do. And I hope you found it helpful. Take care. Be well.